Hello, this is Miss Devoted Tiff with Tiff's Take, a special replay edition. So, today's topic is going to be centered around the conversation that is trending right now about women being content with being single. And it's interesting because about 5 years ago, I did like a special vodcast. In this birthday vodcast, I was interviewed by my wonderful cousin and podcaster. And in this interview, we discussed, as I transitioned into my mid 30s, the difference between solitude and contentment. So I'm bringing this episode back for my new followers or those that may have watched before and just want to see it again. So I hope that you enjoy and come away with some interesting points and food for thought for yourself or others in your life. And without further ado, the replay of From Lemons to Lemonade, Solitude to Confinement.
So let's jump right into it. So I want to talk about the words, kind of the word choice, right? So we say the lemon of solitude. Now, when I hear the word solitude, I think most of us, we hear solitude. We think loneliness, we think desolate, we think sad. We think all of the things that I don't think I've ever really seen you give off. That's not the energy that I think I've ever gotten from you. So let's talk about that word. What does that word mean to you? And dive into a little bit of like that journey of understanding solitude for you.
Okay. Well, for me, definitely, you're right. It does have a negative connotation, but for me, it's just more of a literal connotation, as in you're going at life alone, as in,
Okay.
not a companion, not a partner that is alongside you, helping you achieve your goals, or like even like a long-term business partner or anything like that. Like a lot of people have somebody that's in their life on the daily. I have
Mhm.
people around my life
Okay.
that are amazing. I have my bestie, I have my family, I have classmates, I have people that care about me. And I think sometimes people think of solitude and they think, it's somebody that is alone in every facet. I just
Yeah.
don't have my definition of solitude is not having someone in the day to day, like in your household, like
Right.
if you at church and you're taking a picture for the church director, it's just gonna be me in my picture.
Okay.
Like I don't have like an adopted child or a child that I bore or like I said, a partner or anything. And so it's like party of one.
Okay. Party one. All right. So was this like a when we say that this is obviously the lemon and the lemon of solitude, is this something that is like intentional, like are you saying that like, hey, I'm here because I want to be here,
Mhm.
or is this like a I'm accepting that this is just what life is giving me type situation?
I would say it has now become a choice.
Okay.
It didn't start out as something I was trying to do. It was just when you move through life and you're open to relationship, you're open to companionship. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you're single by choice because if you wanted to be with someone that doesn't treat you well, then that takes care of the solitude problem. Even though, and we'll save this for another episode, you can feel real lonely inside a relationship, but we're not going to talk about that today.
This is very true. Check Instagram. Check Instagram.
Hello. Um, so I think at first it was just choosing to not settle meant a choice of solitude and
Okay.
choosing to prioritize certain things and even like prioritize certain goals, because if I was just kind of sitting around or more so going out and socializing and clubbing, it might have been easier to come across somebody. So I think for a while it was school, church, work, home, um, maybe going to like comedy shows or poetry nights, but I may be going with my girlfriends and sometimes going by myself, but I wasn't always in the atmosphere of single men because a lot of the things I go to are things that couples go to. Like,
Okay.
couples go to comedy shows together. Like, so it will be me or me and my friends, and it's like, couples, laughing at the jokes. So some of it indirectly became a cause of it, but I think the biggest part was just my lifestyle
Hmm.
and my standards.
Okay. And that's fair. So I think we are obviously we're from the South. We are from Jacksonville, Florida.
I know.
Exactly. Shout out Duval. There are a lot of amazing things about being from Jacksonville. But being a southern city, right? There's a certain way that you're supposed to go about life, that people expect you to go about life, particularly as a woman, as a Black woman, as a Black intelligent woman, as a Black educated woman, degree woman.
Yeah.
Um, there are a lot of expectations for how you should do things. Has that impacted your understanding, or even you being in this space of like solitude? Have those things had an impact on that, or do you think about that stuff today at all?
Um, I don't a lot unless someone brings it up to me. I would have to say, my parents and even just like the people that I look up to. Fortunately, I never really got that pressure as far as, okay, you've gotten your degree, you have your career goals, so when you getting married, and I hear that a lot, but I also can't recall my mother ever saying that exactly to me.
Okay.
My
Which is
dad
good.
never said it is good. My dad's never said it. Every once in a while, now that I've gotten a little older, he'll ask me about grandkids.
And
So
kids.
I think at this point, he wouldn't even care if I was married to the man. He just
Just
want a
bring one
grandbaby.
in.
Um, so because of that, that wasn't something I consciously thought about. It is so funny. I would always think of it out of necessity, which sounds awful. Like, um, oh, it would be nice to build this with somebody. It would be
Right.
easier if when I'm trying to build my creative brand that I had a built-in videographer so I don't have to self-tape all the time or someone that like can accompany me to an industry event. Like, and I would always think of it like as somebody to help build goals together, because I always have it in me, and I do it with my friends and family too. Like, don't tell me, and you get a test, don't tell me you have an interest in something that you like. I'm gonna be like, what about this? What about this? Or send you this or suggest that. So I've always wanted to do that for a partner. So it was always like not necessarily like a Beyonce or a Jay-Z type of thing where they make money together, but I always thought of it as, well, at this point in my career, it would be nice to build with somebody versus building alone. I feel like we would both get there quicker. So that's the only time I ever really thought about it. And then the other reason, kind of vain, because I do know I will be more fluent one day. I was like,
Hmm.
well, I want to meet somebody now. And I feel like it's getting close. I feel like that moment where things start coming together and going to that next level is happening soon. So I would
Right.
pressure on myself to meet somebody before then, because I know after then I wouldn't be trusting anybody. So it's like, I need to meet somebody now because it's about to happen, and I need somebody that don't care about that but cares about me. So
Right. Somebody showing up like, oh, she got a little money. Let me get myself together so I can
right.
no, no, that's fair. It's also really cool too, though, that you say that your parents, never directly put that pressure on you, because I think there's freedom in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
For you to actually come to this space and to be comfortable, to be in a space to say, hey, this is who I am and this is where I am, and I'm accepting that.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about solitude being the lemon. Did you always look at it as the lemon? Did you always look at, hey, I'm solitude and this is a not so good thing, or people would see it as a not so good thing? Did you always feel that way, or is that something that you just kind of had to come to realize as you're thinking about things?
Um, I did not always find it as a lemon just because I am an introvert. I think
Okay.
maybe people call me a learned extrovert because I know how to turn it on, but my preference is my own company. And
Yeah.
getting home and doing absolutely nothing or watching TV or reading a book while I eat my dinner is my favorite thing to do. It's not
Yeah.
like I'm not the person that gets off of work and like, oh, like, I want to go out. Like, I be looking forward to getting home. So by nature, I've never seen solitude altogether as a bad thing.
Okay.
Um, I would say when I was in a relationship and then when I would get out, I would miss, I guess, their presence or the warm body or whatever. Like just somebody, that's sitting next to you in the movie theater or something like that. But as a whole, solitude was never like a bad thing to me. Like I've never been that person like, oh, I get so self-conscious when I have to eat by myself. Like I need to call somebody and find somebody to go to lunch with me. I can't sit at the table by myself. I've never been like that. And then
Yeah.
sometimes when I got out of a relationship, it was peaceful. And so sometimes I would connect solitude, and I think even now I could like connect solitude with peace, because it's like, oh well, ain't nobody bugging me, ain't nobody nagging, ain't nobody making me feel bad about myself. I'm just chilling, and it feels good to not have any bad energy in my space right now. So
Yeah. Okay. That's good. So in saying that, right? I'm assuming that this kind of kicked off the transition part, right? Of looking at solitude in a different way and making that shift from, solitude to contentment with that space, right? Um, was it just relationships that kind of spearheaded that transition, or what were the things that spearheaded that for you?
well, I think the main thing that spearheaded is I kept noticing like bad patterns either with the guys that I chose or the guys that chose me. And like I said, I do like to self reflect. And I think I found myself in a long period of being single. And then, you see things on social media as far as people saying, well, that's why she's single, or this is why she's single. And I feel like there's a narrative out there that if a person is single, it's because you know, either she's crazy or she doesn't play well with others, or maybe she's too selfish to be in a relationship,
Hmm.
or that she's getting broke up with because of something to do with her. And when in most cases with me, it was the guy saying, I'm not ready, or I want to focus on my career, or quite a few times the guy was like, well, the mother of my children is giving me kind of slack because you're the first serious relationship I had since we broke up. And so now she's not letting me see the child as much because we're together. So just to make things
Mm,
less drama, I'm just going to try to make it work with her. Or they were in the military and sent to a new station and we weren't at a point in the relationship where it would be something to consider moving with them or anything like that. So a lot
right,
of
right.
times it was just circumstances, intentional choices. But I started noticing that people would say, oh, well, you're single because of something with you. And I started to realize you can be an eligible person or even do the work. Like, I've been to therapy, I go to therapy. I, have
Right there.
relationships with my friends that communication is great. And it's like that they can say, well, when you said that, that made me feel this, or I feel like whenever I try to call you, you just text me back. You need to like pick up the phone and call me sometimes. I don't feel like you don't talk to me enough. And like I've had people that tell me, so it's not even a question of me doing the work on myself, to make sure that my friendships have been great practice. And even like my family
Hmm.
dynamics have been great practice with becoming a better person in general and becoming a better person in relationships. And I had this moment where I realized you can be doing the work, constantly doing the work, and maybe there still isn't anybody that's coming your way or somebody that is serious. I like to say there's a difference between a person being attracted to you and being interested in you. They
Oh,
can think that you have good qualities. They can think that, you look physically good to them. They can even see that you're a hustler. They can see all those things, but they still might not be in a place where they feel like doing the work to be intentional about getting to know somebody. It's almost like flipping through a magazine, like, oh, she's cute, oh, she's smart, but to actually like engage with the person isn't always the case. And so sometimes girls that are attractive, people feel like, oh, she's just rejecting all these guys. And it's like, well, just because people may be DMing me or even asking me out on a date don't mean they're saying anything. Like
yeah, yeah,
sometimes they're just doing it to do it, or they're just liking a picture or commenting on a picture, but they're not like trying to really have anything serious with anybody. And it's not the same. And so
yeah.
you can do the work, you can be eligible, you can like work on yourself physically. Like I lost weight and I'm still working on losing weight, and you can be in that position and still not meet somebody that is compatible or meet somebody that is serious.
Yeah.
And that's the point where I kind of realized, well, this whole solitude thing can sometimes not have as much to do with you as people think. And it's like, well, does that make it bad? Does that mean that like I should be punished for the solitude if I have done everything on my part? Because some things are out of your control. Whether somebody chooses to step up and be with a woman that's a good caliber or wants to put a more effort than he's usually to have to put, because that's the other thing. And I'm going to put a pin there. Sometimes guys that are considered like the eligible bachelors, they know it. They know what they bring to the table. They know they know that, they have the good job, they have the good personality, that they're like can fit in any situation from, the hip hop concert to the opera. They know that they know how to move in these different spaces. They realize who they are. And I think that's good. I think that men that have worked hard to create a certain life, they should realize that they just don't need to pick any girl. But sometimes those guys just enjoy being single and they don't want to put in the work to just pursue one girl. They like just chilling or having multiple female friends, which is fine. But sometimes the guys that would be your caliber aren't really checking for anybody. So in those cases too, that's another reason why girls that are eligible may have solitude, because the men on their level is just chilling,
Yeah.
or they're not used to having to work, because if they step to any girl, she sees what's there. So she's gonna hunt him down. He's not gonna have to initiate text or calls. He's not gonna have to initiate dates. She's gonna do all of that. So then when he comes across a girl that's like, no, it's gonna be mutual. Sometimes I'm gonna say good morning to you. Sometimes you're gonna say good morning to me. Sometimes I'm gonna ask you if you want to go to lunch. Sometimes you need to ask me. But if they're used to it going all one way, then that leaves a girl like me in solitude. And so I decided, I was like, I don't want my life to feel empty because of the choices that people are making. So I actually prayed a prayer, and I think like I've skipped to the second question, but this is kind of like the meat of it for me that I wanted to make sure I get out. So sorry about that.
No, go for it.
But I literally prayed to God and I said, I've done the work on myself. My life is good, and I don't want to feel like I'm lacking because I don't have a partner. Doesn't have anything to do with me whether someone wants to step up or not. I can't do anything about that. So I don't want to be punished for it. So Lord, please just let my life feel full and be so full that I don't even miss it. And it started happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's when the transition happened, where it was like, oh wow, I don't feel like my life is empty anymore.
Yeah. So that's I think we go back to talking about, like our Southern roots, right? Mm-hmm. and our Christian roots. And a lot of times we say, there's this thing, I hear a lot of people talk on social media about like, what was Sierra's prayer for Russell Wilson, right? And this whole idea of like, it's just simply praying a prayer and like, you're going to get this shiny person that's going to be, put together, fully realized, successful, ambitious, all of these things, and it's going to be there. And I think maybe that works for certain people, right? Or that's their story. But I think there's another part of the prayer of what you're saying is like, I just want to be full and I want to feel full. And if that fullness for me means, not having a partner, but having all of these other great relationships, all of these other, successes in life and things that I can just really build and things that you can't control.
Yeah.
Why not say that? You know what I'm saying? Why not pray that prayer? That should probably be the prayer that everybody is saying, right? Because ultimately that's what we're all looking for, right? Mm-hmm. We're looking to feel complete, to feel happy, to feel fully realized with ourselves. And I think that's the actual prayer. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you should be praying.
That's such a good thing. That is such a good prayer. I didn't think about that prayer, but you're right. That should be the prayer. And I think a lot of times women get disheartened because maybe they have prayed the prayer. They've done all this work and they're just like, okay, well, was my prayer broken? Because prayer worked. But I think it needs to be said that you may pray that prayer, you may do all the right things, and he may not come. And it's not like a lack of faith thing, because God is a gentleman. He's not going to make no man step up. So even if he's tugging on some man's shoulder saying, hey, go talk to her, he might not do it. And guess what? No, I refuse to suffer because of that. And so women out there, you know, if you feel like you are eligible and you know you've been praying, you've been working on yourself and all that, and then no one comes, you can choose to keep waiting and most likely it will happen. But if you choose to say, well, you know what, God has had my life to be full in the meantime while I've waited, and I've decided that I'm good right here, that I don't want to keep waiting and I just want to put a pin in it right here and enjoy this permanently. And it doesn't mean that you're like anti-relationship or anti-sexual or any of those things. It just means, as that's what it is well, in the midst of waiting and working on myself, I've kind of settled in and I like this. I like me. I love my life. And I don't think I want to wait for anybody anymore. I'm just going to ride it out right here. And that should be okay.
Yeah, it absolutely should be okay. So you talked about, so we're in the space now. We talked about the contentment, right? Mm-hmm. And starting to explore what that looks like for you on a day-to-day basis, right? Mm-hmm. Are there times where you think back to like, what am I doing? Do you have moments where you're like, I'm content with an asterisk, but I could do something else? Or have you found that, you know, there are more like upsides to it, things that you really enjoy that you probably never would have thought about?
That is a really good question. I would say, I guess a two-part answer. I would say most of the time, I feel good with it. And the only time that maybe I get frustrated is in my attempt to feel full in my life. I am trying to build finding more platonic male friends. Okay. And that has been a really frustrating process because they'll say that they are okay with being platonic and just want to have like a sis, you know, or have like a fam. Because you know that y'all drop that real quick when y'all friend zone a girl, because I've been friend zoned a lot. And so it's like, you know, what's up, sis? What's up, fam? You good? And they'll say that, but they won't really mean it. Or they will mean it, but they don't really like communicate with you after that, as far as like how often do you hit up one of your male homies? Like your female friend really doesn't always consistently get that. And I'm not saying that in general because I have seen it. I see it all the time. Like guys have like sis. And it's like, well, I want to be somebody's sis in that sense, you know? And so moving to a new city and trying to find platonic male friends, they're not really checking for me on a platonic sense. And if they say that they are, the more time we spend with each other, like maybe just texting and stuff. Cause like I moved up here 6 months later, the pandemic came. So that kind of squashed my social life, you know. I didn't get to go to any networking events or anything like that. But so that would be probably the downside of it is having a hard time filling my life with positive males, new male friends, you know, because I have my family. Thankfully I have you, and I have like husbands of my female friends that we all knew each other before they got married, and so I know both of them, so it's not no disrespect there. Like if I need to hit him up or ask him a question about my car or something like that, I have that. But I don't have anybody that I can like hang out with, like, you know, I'm not trying to go on a date, but let's just go see a movie, you know, like, I feel like that part is missing. So that's like the part where I'm like, dang, am I going to be able to do the contentment if like I don't have any male energy in my life in person at all, you know, like, am I going to have to like fly to DC to like have somebody to hang out with? So I might have to do that. But the positive part, the second part of the answer, is room and space to just go hard for my goals and without feeling guilty. You know, if I need to stay up till 3 a.m. like writing a screenplay, or if I need to stay up to do some editing, or if my work schedule needs to be, I need to work all of these days so I can be off all of these days to, you know, go to a conference or something, then like I don't have to consult anybody else's schedule. Like it's just a lot of freedom to do what I need to do without feeling like I'm neglecting anyone. And
Yeah.
that has been really great because I'm at a really pivotal point in my creative career. I'm finishing school in a year and a half, and I'm consistently trying to build my presence on social media to coincide with when I graduate, so that when it's time to do stuff full on professionally, hopefully I already have a fan base that I can take with me when I ramp up all these things that I've been doing. And so that takes a lot of time to simultaneously build your brand while you're simultaneously getting educated in that field and
Right.
still working.
It's still working.
So
Yeah.
it's it takes away a lot of guilt from me.
Yeah. Well, that's I don't think we think about that often. I can attest to being in a long-term relationship and then being single and realizing like you kind of get over that first like initial just weirdness of I'm by myself,
Yeah.
right? And then you start to realize, oh, I got time.
Yeah.
Like I got like there's literally things that because it's a relationship is work, right?
Yeah.
And you realize, and not bad work, nothing against relationships at all, but it's like you do have time to say that you can chase your goals, and you can literally put the work in and be selfish, right? And this is the time for that because you do have big dreams and you are a person that is doing something that forgive me if I'm overstepping, but you're doing something that you didn't have a blueprint laid before you of how to do it, right? So I think our family, we've had some successful people, but I think in terms of being a creatively successful person that's building a career that this is going to sustain your life, that's different, right?
Yeah.
And so that takes time.
It does.
Yeah, that takes time and space and energy to do that. So with that being said, your contentment with the solitude, the lemonade that we have, would you say in a space, and I don't want to ask it, I'm going to ask this question, but let me preface this by saying, as people, we're speaking of where we are now. This answer, don't feel like you're going to be held to it. The people that are watching this video, y'all don't come pull this up and be like, you said in 2021, like,
right, the internet researchers,
yeah, like this is I'm gonna ask this question to start the discussion, but completely understand that this is how you feel in this space now. So the question is, do you feel that your contentment with the solitude is a permanent thing? And for those folks that may say, she just ain't found the right man, or she ain't doing what she need to do to get the right man. When the right man come along, she gonna throw that out the window. Are you in a space today, right now? Do you feel like this is permanent for the foreseeable future? Or do you feel like, you know what, this might change in next year?
That's a really good one. And it's funny because my male bestie, he says all the time that women in my caliber, I'm not in the spaces that I'm going to be in yet. That like because I'm still at the early stages of my creative career, but eventually I'm going to be in rooms with more notable, like maybe actors or other creatives in the industry, that they're going to be like smart enough to recognize what I bring to the table and our careers will align. And he seems to think that I'm gonna meet men of my caliber and that I am gonna end up in a relationship. He's very adamant about that. It's quite annoying. And my female bestie as well, she seems to think, well, this is how you feel, but this might not be how God feels. He's gonna send somebody your way that you're just not gonna be able to deny. As of this moment, it's not because of it just so happens to be like I'm being intentional. Like I'm saying no. Like I'm currently being asked out on dates and I'm saying no, I'm blissfully single. And the more that I've been saying it, the easier it has been getting to say. Because I just think about what my current goals are. Because I used to always leave room for the career. I mean, I used to always leave room for love while working on my career. But right now, I just don't want to leave the room because I like my momentum and I want that to be the one thing that I get right.
Yeah.
And I think I might have told you offline,
I didn't bring my parents home a son-in-law, or a grandchild. So right now, I want to at least be able to say I brought them home some money. And
Okay.
until I do that, it's going to be real easy for me to say no. The only way I could see it changing at any point is if I have hit a very nice number and all of my businesses are running themselves, because the staff, I've been able to afford to hire staff and, office managers and COOs and project managers. And so they're just needing me to sign off or to say yes, no, or edit that. But right now, I self edit, I self tape, I self market. I will one day eventually transition to a marketing firm and a PR firm and, an entertainment lawyer and all those things. But I don't see that day coming for a while, because I do like to have my hands on stuff too.
I was gonna say, you say this, but I know you and I've worked with you. And I feel like when that number comes, you'll probably be sitting there with your husband and your baby and still like, we gotta do this and we gotta do this. And which y'all did. Hey, I'm calling to see if you did it. Which ain't a bad thing, which is not a bad thing. Most we look at Beyonce, and if you talk to anybody that's ever worked with her, I remember talking to one guy that worked on her choreography for her homecoming, and he was like, yo, she works. Like, she's here. So I feel like you're gonna have that energy. So I hear you, but I think you still gonna have that energy.
So for now, I'll say no. Maybe the only person I would say yes to is Aldous Hodge, because I'm in love with him.
Okay.
But if any other celebrity were to ask, I would probably still say no.
And that's fair. That's fair. You got to stay focused on your dreams. For the people that may be thinking or maybe watching this and thinking, you are focusing on the things that you haven't done, right? And we mentioned this before, but I kind of just want to reiterate this and make this clear. For the people that may say that there are certain things that you haven't done, people you haven't talked to. I know one of the big things folks always talk about is like, hey, you want to understand how to be a husband or a wife, you need to talk to people that are husbands or wives, and all of these things. What do you say to those folks? And I also want you to consider too how unfair it is for, there's a term you threw out there to me, which is a spinster, which I had never even heard of, right? And that being the counterpart of being a bachelor, right? So I hear, and I'll talk about myself a little bit. Folks even say like, hey, you're a bachelor, and okay, all right, cool. And it's not really, it doesn't carry like a negative weight to it. Being a bachelor literally means I can be, single until I decide that I want to be in a relationship and get married and all of that good stuff, which I fully believe. But that's not that's not you don't get that same grace. It's not like, how long did it take to get a bachelorette? There was the Bachelor for like 100 years, and then the Bachelorette came. And I think we only had one, but then like there was all these problems that folks said she had. So like the opposite of a bachelor isn't a bachelorette, it's a spinster.
Right.
What do you say to those folks that feel like you haven't done the work and that may also have this negative this weight that they put on you for not being there? What do you say to those people?
No, that's really great, and it is a huge double standard there. So I'm glad you brought it up. And for those that don't know, a spinster is just the definition of a woman that never had children and never married. And so, and I actually, somewhere in my brand, so this will be good patent timestamp documentation. I plan to make something out of the term like rich spinster or rich hot spinster. Like as I grow in my career, I'm gonna really own that and probably get it on shirts and kind of try to flip it on its head.
Cut this out so nobody don't steal your idea, but yeah.
No, let me pull up the trademark website right now.
Right.
Or how some people do, they'll fake put the copyright R next to it knowing they ain't done nothing.
Exactly.
Or trademark pending for 10 years, but we'll get into that later. So wait, didn't they launch that brand in 2005? It's still trademark pending. But so I would say to them, to just kind of wake up and look at the world around you and just think before you say certain things, and
Yeah.
don't add to the problem or the stigma or the stereotype. I'm pretty strong in mine and I'm handling it well, but you don't know
Yeah.
how much pressure that you may be putting on women, or even sending them in a dark place or a sad place, because they're constantly analyzing themselves because, well, so and so says that the reason that I'm single is because this, and this, or well, I'm 35, or I'm turning 40, and it's just so awkward now. Just how people speak on women's uterus, don't speak on their relationship status either, because maybe she's single because she wants to be. Maybe it's not that
Yeah.
she's single because she's crazy, or she's single because she has like these major issues. Like the same way you respond to a man saying, I'm just doing me. Maybe try responding to a woman that way, instead of, like, for men, that's the end of the conversation when he says he's single, he's doing him. When a woman says, when a woman says that, it's the start of the conversation, because now
Yeah.
we're going into the questions. Now we're getting ready to dig in. Everybody's going to get their Iyanla on, or get their Dr. Phil on. Oh, wait, you're single and you're 35 by choice. Let's dig into this. So when's the last time you was in a relationship, or
Yeah.
are you just a career woman and you need to slow down in your career? Or they'll just kind of go in instead of just letting her decision rest.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
respect her choice. And it's like, it's okay if she's choosing that. And even if you think there's more wrong, it's not really your place, and it's super disrespectful to like kind of psychoanalyze her in a casual social conversation. Like, don't make it awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. Stop being weird.
Yeah, super weird. I love how the kids say that now. They be like, y'all weird. Like, I've started using it a lot.
Yeah. Just stop being weird. Just stop being weird. No,
Like, how do we get here? How do we get on daddy issues when I just said I'm stop dating right now? Like, how did this happen?
right. I know my daddy. I love my daddy.
Exactly.
I actually just talked to my
him
daddy.
yesterday.
I just saw him yesterday. Like, what we talking about? I do think it's an interesting thing that actually a friend of mine had mentioned, and I actually saw this. I saw it firsthand with my sister. A friend of mine had mentioned that for women, the notch of success, one of the notches that you have to check off to be kind of universally accepted as successful, is marriage, right? And she goes, you guys don't have that. And some of this stuff, I'll be quite honest, I think in complete fairness, as men, we don't really have to process it a lot. Not that we're incapable of doing it, but just like society doesn't kind of put those things on us so that we have to think about it in this way. But with one of my sisters, we were talking to a family member. I won't put them out. We're talking to a family member, and they say to they ask me, like, hey, they say to me, if you get married before you're 35, I'm gonna have a problem with you, because you are young and all of these great things, right? And then they look at my sister, who's almost 4 years younger than me, and they say to her, why you ain't married yet?
Wow.
This is the same conversation, right? And my sister's just like, I'm good, like I'm fine. And it's like, you need to hurry up. No man gonna want you. You don't want to not make it. And it was like, was she not gonna make it because she didn't get married? Like, and I remember I thought back to the conversation when I was talking to my friend. I was like, dang, that's like a real thing that we don't have to think about. And so I think it's a kudos to you, but I think this conversation is super important too, because essentially what you're saying is like, there is a fullness and there's success outside of that, if you so choose to, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to feel like you have all of this success, all of this creativity, right? And I big you up to say that you're successful, because again, you're doing something and creating a career and going back to get another degree in something where you were expected to be, you know, a brainiac. I'm gonna throw this out there
Yeah,
too. You
yeah,
got a degree in
exactly.
biology, yo. You were like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're the number one student in your graduating high school class. Like, you got a brain. Like, it
Right.
works, and it works really well. It works really, really well. And there's a lot of pressure that comes along with that, a lot of expectations, but to be able to carve something outside of that because something's tugging at your heart and saying,
Right.
like, you got this, you can do this, you've always liked this. We were kids, you know, dancing and singing and
Making
creating
up
things
full,
together.
yeah, we sure
Exactly.
were.
Whole performances and
Mhm.
literally making people sit
And we
down
will
and watch.
practice too.
We rehearsed, and rehearsal was serious. Like, this wasn't no play rehearsal. Rehearsal was serious, and we were children. So to see you do that, that's success in itself in my book,
Thank you.
right? It's success in myself to have somebody look at all of the things that you're supposed to do or you're told to do, and to say, like, hey, I can do that, and I have done that. But then there's also this other path that I want to forge for myself,
Mhm.
that's different from that. And I think this just kind of speaks to that, and it's powerful because it gives folks permission to do that for themselves. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of sharing your experience, right? You can say, hey, as I give you permission, I'm consistently giving myself permission
Mhm.
to go after your dreams and to not feel like you're not successful because, you know, traditionally you're supposed to check this box
Mhm.
of marriage. And, you know, not to like throw anybody under the bus, but like, yo, folks be married and don't really be happy. And nothing, and it's
Hello.
not, yeah, that statement is nothing against marriage in general. I think I have
Mm-mm.
married friends. I think it's beautiful,
It is
right?
beautiful.
But I think that, you know, the truth is, and I love about our generation and what we're doing is that we are saying, you know, there's difference and difference is okay,
Mm.
right? And difference should be respected.
Yeah.
Um, and so I love that you're sharing. I love that you're sharing that. So I will say, because we can obviously keep talking
Yeah.
for forever. Um, is there something that you would want to say? Let's talk to your. I'm gonna say let's talk to your 20-year-old self,
Okay.
and let's talk to your 29-year-old self, right? So I think the 20-year-old self, you know, you're in college, you just kind of into this space where people are like, oh yeah, in your 20s and life is out there.
Mhm.
And then also 29 is like, well, you're about to be 30, and there's all these expectations of going to this next level.
Mhm.
What do you say to yourself that you think would also be helpful to other people that are in those ages?
I would say to my 20-year-old self, and for all 20-year-olds that are kind of still figuring out what they want and don't want out of life, and maybe struggling with setting boundaries. I feel like a lot there's of people coming into their 20th year are in between childhood and adulthood, and they've just
Mhm.
left the phase where they're used to their parents being the one telling them what to do or
Right.
trying to please these figures. And so I feel like a lot of times those authority figures are replaced with friends, are replaced with people that it shouldn't be, but you're just so used to listening to others or people pleasing your parents that it goes to people pleasing your peers. And
Mm,
I would say to my 20-year-old self, it's okay to be a little bratty, or what in my brain would have been considered bratty, but to say, no,
yeah.
I don't want to do that. No, I don't like that. No, I don't care about that. Or to change your mind, or like it's okay to just more so be self gratifying, not in a selfish way, but not living so much for others.
Right.
And as you figuring out life, just kind of doing your thing. And I think I would have saved myself a lot of like heartache in friendships and even in the relationship I was in at that time if I stuck up for myself more and spoke up for myself more, or wasn't afraid to have more standards, because you don't want to complain too much, or you think people might like you or pull away from you or call you difficult. But be called difficult and be okay with it. Like, own that. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
Call me difficult, but I'm not doing this, or I'm not okay with this. Like
Yeah.
Just don't be
Speak it up.
afraid to shake it up a little bit. Like
Yeah,
now I love making people uncomfortable. I love shaking things up. I love like making noise and chaos, you know,
just
like
start over there.
so I would say that to my 20-year-old self, like, don't be afraid to disturb the water. And
Yeah,
people that love you will communicate with you about it, and they won't feel like, oh well, she doesn't love me if she's going against me. Or I put a lot of pressure on myself at that age,
yeah,
so
yeah.
don't do that.
Okay.
The 29-year-old self, I would say it's okay if you still haven't figured it out, and 30 isn't this magic number. Sometimes you need a little bit of your 30s to sort out life, and to kind of recalibrate from your 20s. Because for most people I know, the 20s was quite a doozy with emotions and friendship transitions, and even
We're
like
trying.
figuring out what career they want, or where they want to settle within the career that they chose, where they want to live. Like, it's still a lot of figuring out, and you may need some more time. And if you go into 30 and you still haven't figured it out, that's okay.
Okay.
I like to say time is on your side. And that's kind
Yeah.
of been my affirmation, because I used to feel like I was so behind a lot.
Hmm.
But I will be 50, 60, and I'll still be saying time is on my side. Because if I'm alive, that means I still have time. So I got plenty of time. I am in no rush. And
Yeah.
yeah, don't feel bad if 29 to 30 wasn't like this magic click, and like you settled into at 30 the life you're gonna have until you're like 70.
Which sounds boring. We don't ever think about it, but
Awful.
it's boring. You're gonna do stuff the same thing for the next 50 years.
Like, I literally know people that by the time they graduated college, they got married, had their child, and that is their whole life for the rest of their life. Like, even some of their aspirations, they just settled into that life. And maybe they
Yeah.
love it, but a lot of them don't. And they miss the hobbies that they had, that they kind of just had to
Yeah.
stop, and they miss some of the goals that they had to let go of. And so, you know, give yourself time if you feel like you need it.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I hear as you talking, what I hear you communicating is the journey is what we should fall in love with.
Mhm.
Because you got time is on my side literally means like, as opposed to, and I think Denzel Washington like tweeted this. I don't know if he actually did or maybe somebody put it together and said he did, but it was really dope. Essentially it said something like falling in love with like the destination, and like, oh,
Okay.
I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna be happy when I get there. But your affirmation of time is on my side literally kind of refocuses that energy and say like, this whole journey of me getting wherever it is that I want to go, that's the beautiful part.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that is okay. So when you're turning 30, if you don't have it all figured out, which I think, to be honest, I don't think any of us really do. Even if you're being successful or whatever, I still feel like you don't ever really have it all figured out.
Right.
But you are falling in love with this journey and respecting where I'm at now, and
Mm-hmm.
really fully embracing and living in that. So I think that's amazing. Thank you. So I want to do something that's a little more fun. I put together 10 lightning round questions.
Ooh, okay.
And full disclosure, she didn't know that this was happening, so I'm just gonna throw them out there, and you let me know your answer, and try not to think on them too long. All
Okay.
right. All right. So we'll start off. First one is text or call.
Text.
Twitter, Instagram.
Instagram.
Night out with the girls or night in creating.
Night in creating.
Brunch or day party.
Brunch.
Okay. Sweet tea or lemonade.
Lemonade.
What's the last song you listened to?
Oh, it was probably the Wale Look Ma No Hands.
Okay, all right. Look, no, yes. Hey, okay. So what's the one thing a person can do that's guaranteed to make you smile?
Share my content.
Okay. This one, I'm gonna shake this one up a little bit. I wrote it. Disney Plus, Netflix, or Hulu?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm gonna have to go with Disney Plus.
Okay, all right, Disney Plus. Okay.
I'm sure
What's
it's
your
not a
most...
surprise to you though.
Yeah, I mean, I know. last one, I think I might want to change this up. Okay, so this is gonna be a throwback. You used to read Archie a lot, right? If you were Archie's, if you were who Archie was, would you date Archie if you could?
No.
No. Okay.
When I was a child, I probably would have said yes, and I wanted to be Betty so bad, but no.
No. For Archie.
He was a hot man. I probably would have went for Jughead now.
Okay.
He's a little anti, but super smart and like just the nerdy cool. I like nerdy cool.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, all right.
Fun.
Yeah. So good. I'm glad it was fun. So in closing, I just want to say thank you first off for allowing me to do this. I think it was a great conversation, great discussion. Thank you for being so open and transparent. And again, thank you for taking this time as you're still on your journey, you're still rising and climbing, to be transparent about where you are, how you feel, and to also just try to do that to elevate other people. Again, I truly, I believe you're great. I love, seeing you do this. And I think that this is gonna be powerful, once it drops, but then for the time going forward for other people to have access to. So do you have any closing thoughts, anything you want to say?
Well, I just want to say thank you to you. Like, in my head, I'm thinking of a lot of our family's heads, you're like the celebrity, like the big man on campus in the family. And me personally knowing how talented you are, I hear you say all of these things, and I know you've settled into like an amazing career, like in the finance industry, but I feel like you have a really great creative side that I feel like you and I, if I could be prophetic, that maybe you and I are going to switch one day where as I use my creativity to propel me into the life that I want, I'm going to embrace more of the businesswoman side. Because like I have inventions and I have businesses ideas that I want to open. And I feel like once you settle more into your career, that you're going to finally start embracing more of these creative ideas that you have. So I feel like we're going to do this thing. But
Yeah.
like he is super talented. He sings, he steps, he dances, he writes poetry, and he has a lot of ideas too. And so as much as you toot my horn and say how amazing creative I am, I want you to know I do honestly legit think that about you. So
Thank you.
Your opinion means a lot to me in that sense. And also just the things that you've been able to do since you graduated college has been really inspiring. And so I just feel like you're like it, and so for you to still like not forget about the little people in the family
Get out of
and
here.
coming back and doing this interview with me, I feel special. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not so nerdy that Randall won't come back and do my little interview for my birthday. So thank you.
Of course, anytime. No, I appreciate that, but I think you've said that before, and I can start to see, that start to change. You kind of get to a certain place in your career, you start saying like, oh, so what else is next? And then you even have a person that looks at you and says, there's something that tugs on your heart, and I can see it come out even when you are like in meetings and things like that. Take this extra time to start pursuing that. And it's like, oh, okay. All right. So yeah, I appreciate that. But enough about me.
Also, please, if you enjoy his interviewing style and energy and everything, please check out his podcast,
yes.
Brunch Culture, with his co-host Lisa Fields. And they talk about a lot of good stuff. And you can see he has a knack for the interviewing and hosting and all that. So definitely check that out.
I appreciate it.
Of course. The only thing I would say is just if you're not following me on Instagram or YouTube, please do, Miss Devoted Tiff. And the project on May 20th is one that's so for the culture. I am a creative for the culture. And this project's the biggest one I ever done. And it's saying something that needs to be said. I don't want to give away too much, but I would really appreciate everybody checking that out May 20th, 4 p.m. on Miss Devoted Tiff YouTube channel.
Oh, dope. Okay. All right. So y'all heard that. May 20th, 4 p.m.
My birthday.
I was just going to say the birthday girl's birthday. So you getting a couple things you got to do. You got to like and subscribe as a birthday gift. That's real simple. Yes, but you definitely want to tune in because her content is always good. It's pretty funny. I send people to the carbs video a
You
lot.
do? Oh my
Yes, because that is pretty. I think whenever I think about Oprah's like, I love bread, I think about that carbs thing. And I'm like, yo, you gotta watch this. It's hilarious. So May 20th, check that out. And I know this is gonna drop before your birthday, but I just want to say happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you. I love you. This is amazing. It's
You.
great. Keep going. And yeah, this is how you turn lemons into lemonade, y'all.
Yes,
You see it right here.
please.
That's it. That's it. All right.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks, cousin.
All right. Thank you.
Wow, that definitely brought back some memories. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I can't wait to share with you my next Tiff take.